All right, well, good morning for everyone that's joined us. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. We did have a quick poll out there for those that jumped on early, taking a look at why, where is your current interest in SuiteCommerce? And so, we had an exciting amount of people jump on the webinar and sign up. And so just looking to get a better pulse as to where people are interested in SuiteCommerce if they already have it. Maybe you have SuiteCommerce Advanced and are looking to upgrade. There's a number of different reasons. So take a look at that, and we will get started here in just a minute. We are going to start at the hour. All right, well, welcome everyone that has joined our NetSuite Simplified webinar series that we've got here for today. And my name is Mark Miller. I'm going to kick off this introduction. I want to talk about why we're doing this NetSuite Simplified series and go over a little bit about goVirtualOffice, and then we'll go into introductions. And so the first thing I want to talk about is why this webinar series. Over the last decade plus, our team has gone over 100 projects, whether it's implementations, continual services, right, enhancement projects. We've learned a lot about NetSuite. And so this NetSuite Simplified series is all about taking some of those topics, some that are complex, and breaking them down for you. And our goal here is to give back. That's really the purpose. And we're taking one topic each month, and we're going to talk about it. For example, last month we talked about support case management, and we talked about a couple different ways how that can be impactful for our clients. We talked about getting a better pulse on your business, seeing how customers are viewing your business, viewing your products, which can be incredibly powerful when you match those metrics up to your financials. You're able to see a lot more detail as to how your business is doing and what the impact is of your customer experience, the story that you want to tell your clients and the story that you want your clients to follow. So if you missed that, that's okay. We do have it recorded. You can reach out to us at netsuitesimplified@goVirtualOffice.com. And through that, you're able to talk to us and be able to as well get into that webinar, get a link to it, and be able to see what that was all about. Now, this month, what we are doing is we are going over SuiteCommerce, which is a huge topic in today's industries, many different industries, right? So we're going to cover a lot of things. Todd will be going over the agenda for today, but just a couple of things to note, right? We are seeing this change due to the pandemic and just due to industries that we're seeing clients more and more and businesses more and more start to focus on how do they get closer to their customer base? How do they open up revenue channels that they may not have had previously? So with that, I do want to talk about goVirtualOffice here for just a moment. I mentioned we are a 5-star partner. We've done hundreds of projects. We also were 2019's Suite Success Partner of the Year when it came to NetSuite, and that was a huge accomplishment for us, something that we're very proud of. And so taking that, one of the things that I want all of you guys to know that are on this call today is how GVO operates. And what we do is we assign each one of our clients a business consultant and an execution team. And the power behind that is the business consultant is there to bridge your business strategies and combine that with the technology that you have in NetSuite. How do we enable your business strategies using that technology of NetSuite? And so they work with you on your stairway and the approach that you're looking to take this year, next year, and further on. And then our execution teams, the importance of them is that they are the NetSuite experts that are going through all your projects, providing you support and continuity. So you're working with the same team, and they have the backing of 20 plus consultants. They have the backing of an excellent development team for automating any of those manual tasks that you see weekly or daily or monthly that you want to just run smoother, you want to automate. We have an excellent team there to support all of our clients. So that's a little bit about goVirtualOffice. And what I want to say during this webinar, as we go forward in it, interact with us. There is a question function within GoToMeeting. You guys can pop in questions there, and we will get to those in the Q&A at the end. As well, one other thing that I want to mention is that we are offering, we have a free product offering that we're going to talk about more at the end of the webinar, so stick with us. We also have something from a NetSuite assessment that we'll be talking about, another offering that we're really excited about. So again, stick with us, interact with us. We're looking forward to seeing how this webinar progresses. And so what we'll talk about next is we'll just do some quick introductions. As I mentioned, my name is Mark Miller. I am the Professional Services Manager at goVirtualOffice. I have a lot of background experience when it comes to NetSuite implementations, NetSuite projects, all around NetSuite, different industries, and a lot there. And whether it's from small businesses to enterprise size, I've done a lot of it. And now I'm in the role of supporting our business consultants and our execution teams, as I mentioned about GVO. So with me today, I've got two SuiteCommerce experts, Todd and Corey. So I'll let them introduce themselves, and then Todd is going to take it from there and go over the agenda and details of this webinar.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Parrish. I've been a senior business consultant at GVO for going on 7 years now. I have a lot of experience in the e-commerce world and also the CRM. I have a lot of experience previously as a business owner, as a general manager, and a lot of experience in sales. Also, I'm on the NetSuite has a partner commerce advisory board, and we are a member on that. And that's just a nice way for us as partners to give feedback to the product team. So we meet with them on a continuous basis, giving back input from our customers. So that's a little bit about me. Corey?
Yeah, hi, and I'm Corey Mant. I'm a senior software engineer at goVirtualOffice. I've been here for a little over 3 years. I've had the chance to work with SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced since the beginning, so I've seen the product mature over time. And I've done a lot of customizations that have kind of filled those exceptions and gaps for clients. So I'll be showing one of those later too.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. So, okay, we'll dive right in, guys. So agenda, what we're going to talk about. For the first thing, I'm going to have some interesting observations and questions for you guys to think about as you go along in the day. I'm not going to spew a ton of statistics, really, because it's like e-commerce is really popular. Everybody's stuck at home. Everybody's buying online. So, but we're going to take a look at some other things that are interesting for you guys to think about. Then I'm going to talk about SuiteCommerce. What is it? Go over some facts, answer some questions that a lot of people have that we talk to that are like, well, what does this mean? We're going to go over that so you get an idea. Second, we're going to do a SuiteCommerce walkthrough. So we'll actually look at a demo site that we have built out using one of our demo accounts with some demo data. And then finally, what does the support case implementation look like? Okay, so we want everybody to have an idea of what that looks like from our perspective, how we help and what we do with that. Okay, so interesting observations. So like I said, I'm going to ask some questions as we go along here. So as we get into the SuiteCommerce portion of the walkthrough, I want you guys to think about it in light of your own business. And some of it's kind of common sense, but some of it, we really just want you guys to start thinking about yourselves and what you would do with your SuiteCommerce website. So first thing, doing e-commerce, okay, the simplicity of it. This is from the Gartner. They made a statement that said that the way that e-commerce is trending is really how you're going to simplify it. And it's going to have ramifications through everything, how you do business. Okay, so it's not just doing business. E-commerce has been around for a long time. That's not new, but the impact that it has on your business is dramatically changing. Okay, So current stats, 36% shopping online, okay? And that's growing. We've seen great strides in that in the last 2 to 3 months. We don't expect that to change. We only see it to increase. 97% of millennials generally buy online. Okay, well, why am I picking out millennials? Well, those are the people that are now in those roles that are making those buying decisions, whether or not it's in leadership or if those are in buying positions, what have you. So that B2C experience that those millennials are having is carrying over heavily into the B2B, and they're having that expectation. So those companies that are B2B only, they're like, I don't really need to worry about that. Honestly, you need to be thinking from your B2B as a B2C mindset. How am I going about building out that website? Okay, so the questions for you. First one, what are the opportunities for doing business online? So really want you to start thinking about what that means. Of course, it's easier to purchase product. A lot of people want to do it. It's a simpler way to do it. But how does it impact your business? Okay, who does that free up? Does that, those people that take orders manually, do they no longer need to do that? How can that impact your business? How can they be repositioned within your company to do more things that are value added? Does it cut down on incorrect purchases? Giving that customer the ability to buy online and see all those products and open up that product catalog that you have to your customers and put it in a way that they can go ahead and take a look through. And then next is, what are the costs associated by not fully leveraging your website? Okay, one obvious question, do your customers and your competition, do they have a website? What are they doing? Are you doing social media? Okay, if you're on social media and you're talking about your company and you're promoting products, can they click on that social media to go to your website to purchase that product? Okay, if you just have a static site, you're probably not going to have that ability to do that. Okay, so next, beta asterisk. I put this in because there's a lot of talk about whether or not it's B2C, B2C, B2G, which is B to government. And so kind of mentioned this already, but it's a really big deal that it is changing, okay? And it means big money. And this is from Frost & Sullivan, the current numbers. They're estimating B2C revenue is $3.2 trillion alone. Okay, a lot of people probably think, and ask yourself, here's a quick question, who has more, B2B or B2C? Okay, I'll answer the question right now. It's actually 6.6 trillion for B2B, okay? So there's a lot of zeros out there. There's a lot of dollars sitting out there. And then 75% of B2B procurement spending is projected to happen via online in the next 5 years. 75%. That's a lot of money, okay? So the question with that is, do you have to choose between B2B or B2C? With SuiteCommerce, they'll say, no, you don't. Okay, and there's different ways that we can work around that. But the question is, if I am strictly B2B, is there something that I need to be doing that I can now open up a channel that's B2C? Okay. Also, if I'm B2C, is there a way that I can take my services to a business level? Okay. So start thinking. The nice thing about this channel is it's pretty dynamic, and you can set the tone and you can set the standard for that. Okay. Omnichannel. Can't go through e-commerce without talking about omnichannel. Really, that's the next level. Okay, 61% of businesses are going to go to an omnichannel platform in one way or another. Okay, and 36 have already started to do so. If you have a website, you've already started. And really, what omnichannel, so everybody knows, is having multiple ways to get to your customer. Whether it's a salesperson through Salesforce automation, whether it's SuiteCommerce, or maybe it's through support cases, or maybe it's through a partner channel, through Advanced Partner Center. So all of those are different channels or ways to get to your customer. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that all of those people that touch the customer have access to the same information. And that's the beautiful thing about NetSuite, is when you start looking at the SuiteCommerce, is it's sitting on top of all that data, so you can get to it. So omnichannel is the way that people are going, so they have that unified customer experience. So the question that I have for you, do your employees see the same thing? Do they see what they need to see, first off? And two, does that data match up with what the customer sees? Are they seeing the same transactions that your salesperson is, or your support person, or your delivery driver? Your delivery driver is driving stuff off, and they have a mobile application in NetSuite. They can go look at transactions if you allow them to. And does that match up? You know, are you creating a support case as a delivery driver when you're on site when there's a damaged product for the customer? And so now that customer, when they're on SuiteCommerce in my account, they can actually see that support case instantaneously. So it's a way for them to be all on the same page. Okay, so the next thing, e-commerce, it's not just about dollars. The average B2B customer, uses 6 different interaction channels before they make a sale. So the web store that they actually get to, that's a lot of times the last thing that they actually look at. So, and we're gonna, like Mark mentioned, we're gonna go through at the end some of the things that we're doing next. But next month we're gonna have a joint webinar with Tadpole. And one of the things that they do a fantastic job is taking these 6 interactions and blending that with that NetSuite data to actually get a true picture. Because it's not linear. It's not like I decide to go buy paper and I go to this spot and this here. It's usually back and forth. So that is the current trend in e-commerce. It's not a linear line. So how do you map that out? Okay. And then 85% of online shoppers will research products before choosing which brand to buy online. So if you don't have a website that doesn't have all your products, how are they going to compare your products? Or how are they going to research your products if it's not on there? So it's not just about dollars, it's about remaining competitive as well. So, and this makes my next question is, how do you manage your brand narrative? So if 85% of people are making decisions on what you're going to buy online, what are they seeing? And if you don't control that, what you have on your web store, you're not controlling your narrative that's on the digital world. So think about that. Then impact of architecture. This is one of the last things I want to talk about. It's really important. Okay, and we'll get into SuiteCommerce a little bit, but for every second delay in page load time, you can result in a 7% reduction in conversions. That's huge. Slow page can impact your cart abandonment by 75%. And I always look at an example of looking at, to me, like for some of those old enough that I can remember when you used to get free pens in the mail from businesses. And you get that pen, and I'd always write that pen. Is it a good pen? Is it a bad pen? Because that was always a reflection to me of the quality that they were willing to put out to their customers or to their prospects. Your website's the same thing. If your customers are going online and they're seeing a page load initially, okay, that's going to give them, a bad feel. So, big impact. Okay, finally, 50% of B2B e-commerce buyers identified improved personalization as a key feature. Okay, it's huge. We aren't doing business as much face-to-face. That's why we're on this, because it's e-commerce. So it's really important. So if we are doing this digitally, how can I relate to my customers and show that I care and that I care about what they want and not showing them stuff that they don't? Okay, so it makes a big difference. And then bottom stat, 48% spend more when personalized. That's a big percentage. Okay. Last thing, can't talk about e-commerce without Amazon. So a couple of bullet points from Amazon, doing research. Their biggest thing is their customer data focus. They own their own data and they know their own customers. Okay. Spoiler alert, as an e-commerce customer in NetSuite, you do too. You have all your own data and you have everything you need. Okay. So we can match that. Drive innovation. They are relentless on improving their products, their services, and how they do it. Okay, so always keep that in mind. It's a journey, not a destination. Here's something I thought was really interesting. Third-party products account for 58% of Amazon sales. So when you're thinking, how can I sell online? Okay, if those that have NetSuite now, you can drop ship things. So who says that you only have to sell your products? What if you have a companion product from a companion company? Can you sell those products on yours? Okay, can you drop ship that from when it comes to sales order? So thinking about Amazon and the things that they've done really well, put that on yourself. How can we do things better with that information? Okay, because in NetSuite, what you're going to have is you're going to see like the customer lifetime value, average items for orders, the order types. This is the type of data that you're going to get in NetSuite. And this is the type of data that Amazon and those other big players are using. Okay, so SuiteCommerce, what is it? We'll jump in quick to that. Well, first off, it's NetSuite's e-commerce product. There's 2 of them that you really look at, SuiteCommerce Advanced and SuiteCommerce. Okay, with this, there is a site builder, it's an older tool. It's not being mothballed, it's not going away, but they're not putting any money into it. There's no plans to sunset that. It's just out there. So, but if you're looking for the most common, look at SuiteCommerce Advanced, SEA, or SuiteCommerce SC. I'll go over the differences in the next slide. It is built within NetSuite. There's no integration needed, okay? It is NetSuite, okay? And it has access to real-time information. And then finally, it's really made up of three components: the web store, checkout, and my account. Okay, and this is a really important concept because think of SuiteCommerce as sitting on top of NetSuite. Okay, on the bottom you have all your shipping, tax, price level, customers, items, all that data sitting here. SuiteCommerce sits on top of that and displays that to your customers. That's what it is. And so when you're working in SuiteCommerce or your e-commerce manager, when they're doing things, they're not doing things necessarily in the back office. They're working on the SuiteCommerce product. Now, they can have access to the stuff in the back office too. That's not a problem. But when you're working with the SuiteCommerce tool itself, it's really like sitting on top of the back office. Okay, SCA versus SE is a common question we get all the time. What is the difference? First one, SuiteCommerce Advanced, you get access to the SuiteCommerce code. Okay, pretty simple. And you have to have manual upgrades. It does not automatically upgrade where SuiteCommerce does. SuiteCommerce, or SC, does not give you access to the source code, but it does automatically upgrade twice a year on the NetSuite path, which is great. And some people will say, well, why is SCA the more expensive version? Why doesn't that automatically upgrade? Well, the reason why is you're getting your fingers down into the source code. And so when we write our code in SCA projects, we always try to build it so that it automatically will upgrade, but that can't be confirmed when you're down in the source code. So it gives you the ability to manually upgrade to make sure and test everything out before you do it. SuiteCommerce, since it doesn't have access to the source code, should just flow along. So you'll get newer features more often on SuiteCommerce because you're going to have access to the new version. SuiteCommerce Advanced, you won't. Okay. I'm going to go over the extensibility layer in a second, but they share the same. The themes, exactly the same. Doesn't matter. There isn't a theme for SCA versus SuiteCommerce. They run on the same extensibility layer. And the NetSuite functionality is the same. There's a couple of small little things that you can't do, but they're really rare. And if you have any questions on that, we can always help you with that. But for the most part, functionality is the same. Okay, extensibility layer. This is a huge topic because this makes a lot of this possible when we start doing customizations and personalizations. So at the bottom here, we have the core, the SuiteCommerce code. SuiteCommerce Advanced, we can get to that. Okay, SuiteCommerce lives up here. Because really what it is it has an extensibility layer right here, okay, that you write towards, and it's like a buffer. So when Corey or any of our dev team, when they're writing an extension and say, I needed to do X, we deal with the extension layer. And then the extension layer tells the core code what to do. So in SuiteCommerce, we write these and we write extensions for SuiteCommerce Advanced based on this level. We do it for both to make sure that it upgrades easier. But this is what we deal with. We try not to get down there if we don't have to. Okay, so like I said here, when built right, upgrades shouldn't matter at the time of upgrades. That's part of our jobs as professionals to make sure that that does. And Corey and team do a great job with that. Okay, NetSuite Themes. These are your starting blocks. You can see I have three here. I'm going to show you three more. You have Manor, Posh, Threads, Summit, Bridge, and Horizon. Okay, these you can modify. These can you make look different. Put your look and feel of the business. Add landing pages, things like that. Corey will go through that a little bit later. But these are really where we start. We never do themes from scratch from the beginning. It's a waste of money because generally speaking, our customers can find one of these 6 themes that matches the format and layout that they want. We modify and we go from there. Okay, my account. Last portion I'm going to talk about SuiteCommerce. My account's a really big deal because in lack of a better way of saying it, it's almost like a portal to your back office. Okay, like I said, SuiteCommerce sits on top of the ERP and you have access to all the information in the back. So if you want to see account balances, they can go in there and they can see that information. They're not seeing the back office, they're seeing an interface and you control what they see in my account. But if you have custom records in the back office that you want to expose, you can expose those to your customers through the My Account. And that's a huge impact that you can make when it comes to personalization. So say if you have safety records or anything of that nature that you've maybe done for customers, you can share that through My Account. And like I said, it's a portal. So it's really nice. Okay. So with that, I'm going to jump into SuiteCommerce itself. Okay, so this is it. Okay. Doesn't look that fancy. It is. It's nice. But basically, it is like a web store, what you'd see on any website that you would go to. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I just want to go look at your products, because that's really what we're here is about, is what you're selling and what's available. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take a look at notebooks, and you can see I'm going to have a MacBook Pro here. Okay, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to start to see information like it's in stock, have 52 available, have my SKU, all that. I have my details here. Then as I go up, I'm just going to copy this here, and I'm going to log into the back office, and I want to look at this item. So I'm going to look up this MacBook. So I'm looking at this MacBook here. I'm going to get into the details here. As soon as it lines up, I'm going to go to my web store tab, and I can see all of this information here. And that's what you're seeing right down here. Okay, whether it's reviews or details or quantity. Okay, and if I go back here to this inventory item, I can even see things like my out of stock behavior. I can control my out of stock behavior just on this item, or I can do it across the store. I can put in search keywords like best laptop. So if I go in here and I say I want to search for best laptop, it's going to show me that item there. And that's going all off of this item in the background. I can go ahead and add related items, and these are hard coded. So if I want to always display certain ones, I'm going to go to my related items tab, add them there. And then correlated items is going to be your AI stuff with NetSuite based off your lift or correlation, and it's going to show those. So if I'm going back to my item here, if I go back down, I'm going to see those 3 items that has related items, or I can show my correlated items. Okay. Back on my item tab here, I'm going to go and look at like the purchasing. So I mentioned that you can see like the inventory account. I'm seeing 29, 23. Match it up, I'm showing here a 52. Like I said, it's pulling all of that information, so it's displaying in stock. And then also, when you start looking on the item, you have your facets. So I'm going to go over to my SuiteCommerce extension here, and I'm going to see that I have brand. And if I go back to notebooks here, I can see all my facets here on the side. Well, this apple is coming from that facets tab. Okay. Also, when I'm looking at that, I can also see my product reviews for this. So I can see all my product reviews for this, and I can control those, whether or not I can verify whether or not they're an actual customer, and go forward with that. So, like I said, this information is just being pulled directly from the back office, being displayed in the front. The other area that's really important is your commerce categories up the top here. If I'm going to like printers, I'm going to see that I have like 3 subcategories, and I can go look at my 3D printers. If I'm in the back office here, if I go into my commerce categories here, I'm going to see all those commerce categories. And I see like have printers here. I'm going to look at that. Open up a couple of these. I'm going to see on my commerce category, I've gone ahead and I've added 3 subcategories. And then if I want to go to that 3D category, I can actually go see those items. Now, what's really important about the commerce categories is SEO impacts. There's a lot of different areas that it impact. But one thing that's nice is that you can go ahead and have a start and an end date for commerce categories. So say if you wanted to have a commerce category for Black Friday and you wanted to start at midnight on or midnight the morning of Black Friday, you can have that start and end date in there. Also, one of the newer features, you can have personalized catalog views where you take groups of customers and say, I want to group them to these assigned items. And you can say these customers can only see these items. So you can actually personalize the content view, but you can also do the same thing with the commerce category. So say if I only want a certain customers, like my VIP customers, to see this commerce category, I can enable that when they log in, NetSuite's going to know they can see this commerce category. Okay, so I'm going to go back into the web store. Let's go back in here. I'm going to add this to my cart. Cart and checkout. Okay, so I have a couple things in here and I'm looking at it, but it's going to ask me to log back in. Well, what's really nice is that when you add things to your cart in the back, and so I proceed to checkout. I'm like, okay, I decide, you know what, maybe I don't want to to get that item, you can actually see all the items that are in shopping carts. So this is here is the custom tab that I created. So this is the shopping cart master. So I can see all of those items here. I'm going to refresh this. And I can see that Thomas Industry, who I'm logged in as, I have all these sitting in there. I can see shopping cart by dollar amount, see what my top items are, what my count is, my customer item count, shopping cart, etc. Because what's really nice is that if I go into my marketing campaigns, I can create a marketing campaign that has that type of information. So I have a marketing campaign set up here. Like the first one is shopping carts with over $500. So I can go ahead and do this email out with a promotion code using Suite Promotions to those based off that information who has over $500. Same could be with customers with a product review. This one here is a customer with product reviews greater than score of 2. So I can go ahead and do a promotion with that. Another way, I have data, how I'm going to use it. Also, you could do, there's one in here that, this one here is just for food service customers. So if you have a certain category, you can go ahead and break out those categories and use those just for different online promotions or what have you. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go back to my cart. I'm going to walk through this. So as you're going through, you're going to see a shipping address that's set up on the customer record in the back office. I'm going to see my delivery methods. You can set a default delivery method in the back on the customer record you want, or show them what they have here. I can see all my items. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue. I'm going to see my invoice if I have terms. I'll see invoice if I don't have terms. It's going to show me the credit card. I'm going to use my invoice and it's going to show me my available balance. I'm going to have my billing address from the back office. I'm just going to go here. Once again, I can view everything. And I'm just going to go ahead and place my order. Okay, so that's going through the process. And the last thing I'm going to show you, and then I'll be done with this here and we'll switch over to Corey, is I'm going to look at my account. So this is, like I said, it's a big deal. So the account overview. Just doing a quick review is one, I can see all my purchases. I can just see the purchase that I just made. I can see any returns. I can reorder items. I can see all those items that I've purchased and I can simply add them to the cart. I can view quotes. So I can go into this quote here that was set up in the back office that a salesperson sent out to them. I can go view that quote and I can view it. And if I've set a different price level on that item on the quotes and say them what's available to them normally, that's going to display here and with the kind of quantity. So I say, okay, we want 5 of these, but here's the price. So they can view this and they can review and place order, but they can't change the quantity. So I can go ahead and produce this. It'll create a sales order in the back office. As far as your billing, you can see your account balance for the customer. You can see your full transaction history, like any credit memos, anything of that nature. See all the invoices. I can see invoices here. If I wanted to make a payment, I could go ahead and just click here and I can make a payment. And then also I can see support cases. So if I want to go in and look at support case information, if I want to create a new support case, I can do so. So with that, that's my portion. That's SuiteCommerce. So Corey, it's up to you.
Okay. I'll just share my screen here. We can go over some examples that I have. Okay. So I'm going to walk through a few examples of our clients and the customizations we put in place for them. So SuiteCommerce can do a lot. Well, just want to make sure we're seeing the screen here.
Yep,
so SuiteCommerce can do a lot for you out of the box. I mean, a lot of this you see is just leveraging natural SuiteCommerce. They've got their homepage set up here. That's all controlled through configuration, so it's nice that you don't have to actually push out code updates to make these changes. You can control it there. But for this purpose here, I just want to show you some examples of things that they needed an a gap kind of filled. So take a look here. So Chicago Wine Company, they're purveyors of fine wine. So they deal on consignment. They sell these wines on the web store here. So there's a few things that don't quite fit with the typical, B2C site. So first thing though, I just want to point out they're making really good use of the commerce categories here, and they're really heavily driven by facets. So one of the things that they said is that a lot of customers know what they want. They just want to be able to get to it quickly, and facets really do that. So the other thing here is they have a lot of certain information that pertains to wine that's on the item record itself, and it's really just trying to get that information to the website. For instance, we have wine attributes here. It gives all the attributes on what this is called as the PLP. It's a product list page. So it lists out all of your products. So it gives them a quick view of certain ratings, publication ratings. So all of that lives on the item record. It's just a matter of creating these extensions to display it in a way that they want. So visually appealing and actually can show for each individual line. They also have some requirements around inventory. So you may have seen Todd show there was inventory on the product display pages. Naturally, there's for SuiteCommerce, but they have a little more complicated inventory requirements. They deal in consignment, so there are certain, there's only one available, and that's all that they can really sell at this time. They have a notion of pre-arrival. They can get it. They've historically been known to get it, so they'll let you know that if you want to purchase it, they'll find it for you. And same thing kind of goes through to the PDP. We show the same information displayed in a way where it's easily accessible. So the other thing that I want to show is my account. So where the customizations really become powerful is in my account. So if we look here, you're going to notice a few things that you've seen, but there's one here that it's not natural to SuiteCommerce, and this is the My Wine section. And what this is, it's a way for them to track, as a shopper, I can track my purchases. So I know I've ordered one, it shows if you have certain quantities in pre-arrival still, quantities are in storage, and then quantities shipped. So you purchased the wine and you have it in storage, and you have to ship it to you, and then, or you've already shipped it, so you can track where your wine is when you purchased it. This is all driven by custom records in the back office. So you have a process in the back office that you want to leverage and bring to the front end of the website. This is the perfect way to do it, is through my account. You get permissions to your shoppers, because shoppers have a certain role that will gain permission to these records to be able to interact with them. The wines I'm selling, this is the same kind of thing where they can track, because they're known to sell wines themselves, so they're on consignment. They can see how many Chicago Wine Companies received, how many they sold, how many they have remaining, and also wines I've sold is another way to track the actual payments that they've received for these wines that they sold. So this is a nice way to, like I said, leverage an existing process that they had in the back office and leverage it through a way where it's their account. They can access it through, through the website, look at it anytime they want. So another example I want to show is from another client of ours. And this is Wick Buildings. They build pole sheds for, They build pole sheds and other types of outpost buildings, and this site is actually for their builders. So they contract out to build. These builders will actually construct their buildings for clients of theirs. So they wanted a way for their builders to actually purchase material and access the same thing in my account like they do with the Chicago Wine Company. So one of the customizations we had to do for them, this is SuiteCommerce, but this would be probably considered more of an advanced customization, because it has to deal with manipulating rates and lines on what is to be a sales order. So they sell steel paneling, and this is by the lineal foot, and that's not typically how that the unit of measure works for SuiteCommerce would be in each, but they can cut their steel to a certain dimension that they provide and then say how many pieces they would like. So for instance, we can put a measurement here and note the number of pieces. You can see it says the unit of measure is lineal feet. And they add that to cart. It shows them the rate per lineal foot, which is not typically what you see there. And when you go to the cart, excuse me, you can see the calculations are actually done here when it's added to cart. So it'll do the calculations based on your measurements and your quantity and manipulate that amount there on the line. That actually transfers over to the sales order. And so, yeah, that one's a little more advanced, but it's just an example of like how far you can take it still with SuiteCommerce. And now I want to transition over to the SMT. So the SMT is NetSuite and SuiteCommerce's CMS tool. So it gives you a way to manage content on your site from a day-to-day basis. You don't want to have to always push out code changes or make deployments to change your content on your site daily. So I'll just start with this. So there's an easy access button, which is through the escape key. And that brings you into the tool. So this is just a separate application that actually runs on top of SuiteCommerce. So this is a way you can control the content that lives on your site. And for instance, there's within edit mode, you can see these content areas. So all these content areas are built into the templates of themes. So theoretically, you could add additional areas that you want to, if you have a certain area of your homepage that you want to manage, you can have a developer put that in there for you. Then that way it's accessible always. Then you can manage the content. So if you were to add, you can see these content areas are specific also to the location of the website. So the all pages section would be considered a global content area. You have this page, which would be specific to this page. So there's different levels of visibility you can have. And also, speaking of visibility, you can also manage the timing of this content. So you can even view it from a future time. So if you wanted to say, I want to look at what it looks like September 1st, and you had actually content scheduled for that day, it would actually show that. And also from the SMT, you can manage categories. So Todd was showing you commerce categories in the back office. There is an actual way to give you visibility to those categories and the items that are contained within there from the SMT. We don't have a whole lot set up on this one, but I can see the parent, the children categories, and I can see the number of the items that are in there. You can also, and this is where you can see where you schedule out when this is displayed, and you can see the status. So another piece of the overview is landing pages. So landing pages are really nice because it gives you a way that you can spin up a page from this content management tool, and it's pretty instantaneous. It builds out the URL structure. It builds out certain metadata, and so for instance, this one here, I actually have it here. It's just a simple HTML content area that I just put in there, but this actually built out my URL string, and so it gives you a way to publish content in a way that, like I said, doesn't require code deployments. And on that note, I mean, it's we can see that here with Chicago Wine Company. They actually use this in an instance for their response to COVID-19. They spun up a landing page that gives them details and explains that how the procedures have changed for them. So it's a very handy tool. It's something it's maturing too. I mean, it started out pretty simple. They're on the 3rd version now, and it's just getting better. So yeah, so that's where we're at with SMT, and Todd, I'll hand it back over to you.
Great, thanks, Corey.
Welcome.
share my screen here. Give me 1 second, guys. And next, we're going to talk about what does the SuiteCommerce project look like, and Mark's going to walk through that.
Yes. All right. And still waiting on the presentation to come up, but I can get started as Todd, you're working through that. Oh, there we go. We're able to see it. So what does a SuiteCommerce project look like, right? So Todd and Corey have shown some of the aspects that are needed for setup in SuiteCommerce. What does it look like as an end result? You saw Chicago Wine Company, you saw Wick Buildings, two that had some variations of exceptions, but how do we get there? So if we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk about the project components that we have, as well as some ballpark pricing. And for those of you guys that joined our webinar last month about support cases, some of these project components should look pretty familiar. We try to keep things standard for our team and for the client so we know what is to be expected. And so just to talk about the project components here for a moment, we always start with an alignment on best practices. And that's to get high-level information from your business, as well as for us to talk about the best practices when it comes to SuiteCommerce. What are things through our experience that we've seen and learned, and we would want to share with you guys to have a successful implementation. From there, we take that information that you gave us and we'll go into personalization, where it dives into the further detail that allows us to know what is the base configuration that's needed. And so from that configuration, then there starts to be this transition within a SuiteCommerce project, where it transitions from our team towards your team in terms of some of the work that's required. So we'll do training, we'll provide item and image support, but ultimately you guys are the ones that are in control of what your website's going to look like. So that is a huge transition, and it's an area that we may talk about in some of the Q&A. After that, we do need to get ready for go live. And as we all know, right, a website is very outwardly facing. It's something that's right in front of our customer. It emulates our brand. It emulates our product. It's got to be solid, right? So that transition is not something that can waver. So we spend a lot of time building out a list of what are all the steps that are involved in order to have a successful go live for your website. And then from there, we're talking about go live, any additional support, any additional enhancements that you're looking. Maybe there's phase 2, fast followers, whatever you want to call it, right? There's additional updates that you're probably going to be looking for in the future. So those are the core project components. There's a lot of other steps in between those, but those are some of the main ones. And generally, a SuiteCommerce project is 3 to 6 weeks, 3 being on the aggressive side. It has a lot of variables, and from a timeline standpoint as to, are you going through a NetSuite implementation itself? Are you implementing the ERP and SuiteCommerce, or are you just adding SuiteCommerce? And then what are your exception level? So, with that, I can talk about a little bit about ballpark pricing. It's about 80 to 125 hours, so about 15 to 22,000 general average, right? And it's a one-time cost for implementation. So we're there, as I mentioned, we're there to personalize, do the base configuration, train you up so you can start to become autonomous. Like you saw Chicago Wine providing an update for their COVID-19, which is really an awesome, great use. It's a really fantastic usage or use case, right, for why you want to be able to know how your website is set up and operating. And then just some call outs on the implementation. We've got training on Store Manager, the tools that Corey showed, right? There's a little bit of a learning curve, but NetSuite has been doing a really great job in making those user-friendly and continuously improving them. So that's the benefit of it. Items and images, it takes a lot of legwork, right? So there's a lot of effort on your side and our side in terms of providing guidance. So depending on the complexity of your item master, that could impact the project length and dollar amount. And then there's just 2 other things, domain configuration support, and a big one, which is dashboards and reporting. You saw what Todd was doing in terms of his shopping cart, doing marketing campaigns, right? Those are some positive impacts of having SuiteCommerce right in your NetSuite ERP, right? So there's a lot that you want to be able to get out from a dashboard and reporting standpoint that's just incredibly crucial to your implementation. And then lastly, what I'll call out is that there is a software purchase required. Todd talked about the differences between SuiteCommerce Advanced and SuiteCommerce. They're both additional add-on modules through NetSuite. And so SuiteCommerce Advanced, you can imagine, is more expensive because you're able to dive into the code, have a little bit more freedom in there. there are some impacts that Todd mentioned when you do that. And then SuiteCommerce is at a lower price. So that's a little bit about how we approach SuiteCommerce projects. And what I want to talk about next before we get into the Q&A is go through the offerings that I mentioned at the beginning, right? I talked about a couple things that we're going to do that we're offering out that may be beneficial to you. And there's kind of two ways that we approach this. So for those that are looking to purchase SuiteCommerce, you don't have it, you're interested in it, or you're even interested in NetSuite and SuiteCommerce, you can reach out to us. We will offer our offer is basically the SuiteCommerce Essentials extension that we have. And what that does is it assists with the configuration and removing functionality based on your request. And it's something that Corey and team developed, and it's been handy. We implement it in every single one of our SuiteCommerce implementations. But if you reach out to us, we can do a personalized demo. Reach out to us in the next 14 days or so, and you'll get that absolutely free. It's $1,800 as a list price. So something to definitely take advantage if that is where you are at in your timeline, right? I know that ERP and SuiteCommerce timelines are variations for everyone. So if you're in that space, this is something that would be for you. And then the last thing, if you already own SuiteCommerce and you already own NetSuite, either way, even if you don't own SuiteCommerce, what we can do also is reach out to us. We will give you a discount on our NetSuite assessment from our proven team. So people like Todd and Corey, and we've got other senior business consultants too that are on our team that have industry experience from decades of work in business and experience in NetSuite, right? There's a lot there that we can offer. And what we do with that is that we take a look at your NetSuite account, we break it down, and we want to make sure that you're getting the most ROI out of your account. And there's things like support cases is a big one that we talked about last month. People don't use it, and there's a huge advantage to it. It's in your NetSuite account. You don't pay anything extra, but are you using it? And so we'll take a look at your NetSuite account. We'll give you feedback, and we'll sit down and talk with you about what we see in your account. What are some areas that you can utilize? So I highly recommend that NetSuite assessment. It's been very helpful for a lot of different businesses out there that we've worked with, especially in the last couple of months, few months, I should say, more than that with COVID. So as I transition, I just want to talk about a little bit of that we can help, right? I mentioned our team structure. There's kind of two steps to it. You can get that personalized review of your business and website goals. And then what we do is we take those two things, the business and website goals, and we consolidate them for an ERP and website strategy. And that's what our business consultants are here for. That's what they do every single day. So whether you feel like you may need it or not, it might be worth reaching out and exploring. And for all of these, for both offerings, the NetSuite extension that we have or the NetSuite assessment, you can email us at netsuitesimplified@goVirtualOffice.com. That's netsuitesimplified@goVirtualOffice.com on the lower side of that slide. So definitely reach out to us. We want to help, and we're here to do so. So the last thing before we get into Q&A, Todd mentioned it. He kind of alluded to Tadpole doing a webinar with us next month. So they're going to be joining us on August 5th at 10 a.m. This is a huge extension to what we've been talking about today. I feel like a lot of companies are missing out because they have not heard of Tadpole or they have not ventured into that space, which is going beyond what Todd showed about marketing campaigns and being able to use the analytics. They take all these different data points, whether it's your marketing platform, your ERP, your eCommerce, whether it's in NetSuite or out. They look at your Google Analytics. They take all of this data and they pull it into one place. And what they're able to do is basically show that to you in an analytical way that can show you where you're maybe could be driving better profit margins, where you could be spending more of your marketing capacity. And it's amazing to hear their stories about how much profit their clients have had because of their tool. It's something that's often overlooked, but it is a huge piece of our work when it comes to e-commerce. So we'll talk about in that session, we'll talk about the 3 pillars of a successful e-commerce. We'll talk about a few trends that we've seen. We'll also go over the digital journey. So, oftentimes we think of the digital journey as just starting at your website, but oftentimes it's starting way back, right? It's starting as an initial Google search. Todd mentioned the research that people do. So being able to have visibility to that trail is something that Tadpole has become experts at. So we'll go over a lot of things in there. I highly recommend signing up for it. You guys will see an email come out soon. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. That's the other way to get weekly updates. We give out tips and tricks each week. We also have other updates around our webinars and more. So follow us on LinkedIn. If you just search us at goVirtualOffice, you'll find us. So I know we've covered a lot, right? So we want to go into the Q&A, and I've seen that there are quite a few questions out there. For those that have a time constraint, feel free to drop off as you need. We talked as a group beforehand, and we realized that some people may want to get their questions answered. So we'll stay on the phone for a little bit longer. We do have some extra time. And what I'll do is I'm going to go through the list of questions here, just starting at the top, going all the way down, and we'll kind of run through it systematically. All right. And again, I just want to say thank you all for joining today. We had over 100 people sign up, which is incredibly exciting for our webinar series. We're excited to keep that momentum going. So please reach out to us too if you need help. But thank you again for joining and signing up. We will also be sending out a recording of this webinar. So looking at the questions, and Todd and Corey, you guys are probably going to be the main answers on these. But the first one that I see, is the product user-friendly for partners? Meaning will partners be able to access and order for their customers? And I assume this is talking about that SuiteCommerce My Account space. What do partners see when they log into NetSuite?
Yeah, and I can take that one, Mark. Yeah, and that's a great question, whoever asked that. And we actually, when I said the last partner advisory board, that was one of the questions that I asked the product team themselves, because we've seen other people ask for that and we think that's a great functionality. But unfortunately, the answer is no. And I'll just quickly tell you why. Because when you log into SuiteCommerce, basically it's leveraging your customer record and it's saying who is this person and what do they have access to. And since you're logging in as the partner, you would be logging in as the customer, you're only going to be able to see your transactions that relate directly to you. So it doesn't allow cross functionality as far as to see other customers, which in essence is a great thing because you don't want to see other people's transactional information or what have you. But unfortunately, at this point in time, you probably want to leverage the account, the Advanced Partner Center for partners to be able to go in and see their customer information. But we do have customers that do allow their partners to purchase products on behalf of their customers. And what they do is they will have different ship-to addresses in their setup for those different locations that they like to ship to. With buildings that Corey showed earlier is a good example. Those people that are actually making purchases are partners in their NetSuite account, and they're just making transactions for their different locations where they're doing building, and it'll ship it to that shipping address on there that they have, but they cannot go in if a customer has made a purchase and see that transaction.
Yeah, so kind of, oh, sorry, Corey, was there anything else to add to that?
No, I think Todd had it all there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess just in summary, like there's not specifically through SuiteCommerce yet, but we have done solutions through the Partner Center, right, to enable them to view and place orders on their behalf. So there's a little bit more work involved, but it is possible. And again, Dan was the asker on that. That was a great question. So to go to the next one here that we've got from Monica, does a customer have to be signed into an account for their cart to be viewable by you? So Todd, you were showing your dashboard there. Does someone actually need to be logged in for you to see that?
Yeah, and that's another good question. Yes, you do. For them to be able to know who and what was in that shopping cart and relate that to a customer, they are going to have to be logged in to be able to track that information. So, and Corey, unless there's something you want to add to that, but they're going to have to be logged in.
Yeah, no, that's correct. Because outside of being logged in, excuse me, you're considered an anonymous shopper, so it doesn't actually track your cart contents.
All right. Yeah. So not necessarily tracking of autonomous. I would be interested to see what Tadpole has from that standpoint in terms of the analytics that they're pulling off your website. So I think there's definitely an answer out there for it. Maybe not specifically through SuiteCommerce just yet, but again, that leads into the Tadpole conversation, which again is next month, August 5th. Let's see. So the next question we've got is from Josh. So let's see. Let me take a look at this here. Are there a couple websites that use SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced that you could put in notes so we can check them out? Yeah, so you want to see examples. Totally. I think that's something we can definitely do. And we'll probably follow up on an email. Again, Chicago Wine was the one that Corey was looking at, and Wick Buildings was the other. They authorized us to be able to use this for this webinar, so we might have to do a little bit legwork to send those out, but absolutely, I think we can try to figure out how to make that work.
And I spoke with Chrissy, and I saw that question while Corey was presenting. And on the follow-up email with the recording, we're going to have 6 URLs on there for you that will show each of the different themes that I briefly had a screenshot of. And those are demo accounts that NetSuite maintains that you can go. They're fully functioning websites. You can play around with this. So yeah, we'll include those in the follow-up email.
Okay. So yeah, and the next question that we had was from Autumn, wondering if there's anyone I can reach out to regarding e-commerce accounting treatment guidance. And the answer to that is yes. Like I mentioned, that's something that we can definitely help out. If you want to email that NetSuite simplified at goVirtualOffice.com, you're probably going to talk to maybe myself or Todd and some other team members potentially that we've got that could help answer some of your questions. So definitely reach out, and we can at least start and have a conversation and see where that goes. All right, continuing through the list. Thank you guys for all these questions. This is great. This is awesome. Let's see, how would I gain access to the SMT tool, I believe, that was shown during the webinar? How do you get to it? I don't know if that's a question for Corey, maybe.
Yeah, Corey, you want to take that?
Yep, and there's a couple ways. So the one that I used was, there's a hotkey, just pressing the escape key that launches the application. Really all that does is it modifies your URL, because the other way you could do it is just store that URL. It's an add-on to the end of your website URL. So those are the 2 ways that you can get to it. So if you want to disable the escape button because you don't want somebody to come across it, but you still need credentials to get in. So it's secure in that way.
Gotcha. So on the website, you open up your website, you hit the escape key, it'll pop up. But if you want to have that more, not have anyone be able to hit escape and see that, you can disable that function and just have that link saved in maybe your bookmarks. Okay. All right, and that was from Quintus. So thank you for that. Let's see. Oh, and then just Autumn again. Yes, we can definitely reach out to you. We've got the list. And I can send that to you. It's NetSuite simplified at goVirtualOffice.com. But we will reach out to you. Don't worry about that. We can send you a note and make sure you have that. All right, and that looks like the questions that we've got asked here. I do have one that I think might be important. Todd, you and I discussed this before this, but what are some important pieces of the implementation for the client themselves? Like where do they need to be focused the most when they're taking on SuiteCommerce?
Yeah, that's a great question. And to me, I look at it, the first thing you want to start out is one, what is the key information? What are the landing pages that you want to have set up? Okay, because we do train you on how to use the SMT tool, but we train you guys to do that, and we'll always try to enable you to do as much work as you can on there. So one, what does your wireframe look like? What do you want it to look like? And then two, is really the biggest portion is going to be the items and the images, especially if you don't have a web presence now. Depending on how many items you have, that can be substantial. So we always try to overly state that it's really important to make sure that you have somebody that's available, that knows those items, knows those images, and can coordinate that. That's probably going to be the most time-consuming portion of spinning up a brand new website, depending on how many items you have. This 4 or 5, of course, not going to be the biggest portion, but for those that have 500 to 1,000, the items and images is going to be substantial. And then the last part is really going live with the domain work. Corey and our team does a fantastic job of helping with domain cutovers. and things of that nature. But you need to have on your staff, one, somebody who's educated on that or has access to it, or if you're using a third-party provider that helps you maintain your domain, we need to have access to them. And that's all part of the process that Mark alluded to before when you walk through the different steps. It's usually like 7 to 10 days before we go into game mode and we're like, okay, here we need to do this by this day, this by this day. It's all planned out to make that cutover as seamless as possible.
Yeah. So very, very good points. And we had a couple extra questions here come through from Alan. Where do you see the item limit for SuiteCommerce or SuiteCommerce Advanced? So is there a breaking point?
Yeah, no, there's no breaking points as far as items go that we have a customer that's running around 70 to 80,000 items. Where we do see an impact as far as the limit goes, you're going to want to be careful or cautious on the amount of commerce categories that you have. There is a limit that they have, but you're just going to want to be wise with that with your commerce categories. And then the same could be said for facets. So facets are really important, but we always say that use them strategically and use them wisely. So there is a limit on facets. I forget what the amount is. It's in the hundreds. It's not like you're limited to like 5 or 10, but we always recommend that, hey, let's boil it down. Do real good use of your commerce categories, and really good use of your facets will make a big difference as far as people getting around and navigating. And then with the search bar, like I mentioned in the presentation. But as far as items go, it's not. And Corey can maybe speak to this a little bit because I think it is a good technical portion of it, is that there is a caching as a CDN that information gets stored. So it's not directly hitting the back office, it is cached. So Corey, do you want to just mention that real briefly?
Yeah, I mean, NetSuite leverages a CDN through Akamai, so it helps with page loads for your website content. And there's no documented limit to the amount of items you can have. So that's what we've been told.
Yeah. So we have, I think Todd mentioned too, so we've got a client that's got about 80,000 items in their master, and then just the way that you set up the website, right? It comes down to how fast it's going to be. If you've got a very complex setup, if it's trying to load a lot of items, you saw the correlated and related items, right? That's going to take extra time. So that's where we come in and can help provide that guidance. So Alan also had another question. Todd and Corey, where do you see performance limitations on SuiteCommerce or SuiteCommerce Advanced for the number of items? I guess, and maybe we covered that already. Is there anything additional that I guess you would want to add in terms of for the number of items and any performance limitations?
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
No, go ahead, Corey. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess what it really does come down to is facets and the item data that you're providing to the front end of the site. So there's what they call field sets, is how you provide item data to the front end of the site. So if you can trim that down and try to figure out what is a necessity to show, it's only going to help with performance. Same with facets. If you can maybe leverage commerce categories a little more and use facets for trying to slim it down just a little more once you get those results, it does help performance for sure.
And then the other thing I would say as far as speed and performance and architecture, really another big area is extensions. If you are putting extensions in place in your account, always want to make sure that they're quality extensions and that they're very, I don't want petite, I guess is the way to say, is that we're looking very much at what your requirements are, what you specifically want to do, whether it's on the PDP or on the PLP, like Chicago Wine that Corey had. How do we do that so that we make sure that speed is maintained? We've done them in my account, like you're talking about, having that information, because we're going and pulling that information real time. So we want to make sure that my account section to get like wines I've sold. Okay, how do we do that in the fastest manner possible? So that's where knowing that extensibility layer is, what you can do with it, not only helps your upgrades, but also your speed. And that would be the only thing I would add to what Corey said.
Yeah, and I guess there's an extension to that question about shopping carts. Maybe companies are moving away because of shopping cart performance. What have you guys seen with the clients that have SuiteCommerce and SuiteCommerce Advanced?
And I won't speak for Corey. I'll let Corey answer. I have not seen any dramatic impact of having that shopping cart and those items in there. I do think that there may be, I don't know, Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, there may be a limit to how much you want in there. I think that the average user, you're probably going to have, you're not going to see any performance degradation with the SuiteCommerce product with people having stuff in their shopping cart. Corey, do you know of anything on that?
I do not. No, I'd agree with Todd. Yep. I haven't seen any performance issues with the cart, and I know that they've introduced guest checkout, so I don't know if that kind of makes it a little more seamless for somebody to come to the site and go. They still utilize the cart, but they don't have to worry about logging in, and it kind of streamlines the process for checking out and placing an order.
Okay. Well, we've got one more question on the list here from Brittany, and if you guys do have other questions, please write them out and we can talk through them right now. Let's see, let's take a look at Brittany's question here. I'm just going to read it for a moment. Okay, so can customers designate items as taxable or non-taxable? And how does NetSuite communicate that the exemption certificate is approved? So, Todd and Corey, is that something that you guys want me to take on, or do you guys want to answer that one?
I can take that because we run into that a fair amount. So one, all the item information is going to hold whether or not that one on the item, whether or not it's taxable or not. And then also that customer record is going to maintain whether or not that customer is taxable or not. So where a lot of this comes into play is that we will have, depending on the vertical, a lot of times when people register for your site, we have a lot of customers that we've done an extension for when they register to kind of circumvent the natural registration process. A good example is that we have certain wholesalers that they want to vet their customers before they show their information. So they want them to register, but when you naturally register, we'll automatically give them access. And if they have access, then they're going to be able to see your default online price. Okay, so what we've done, excuse me, is go ahead and create a custom module where it allows them to register. You take that information into the back office so you have all their company information, but then you vet that and then you give access. And at that point, you're going to need to communicate with the customer whether or not they are tax exempt or not, depending on the situation. Generally, that is handled through an email. It's not handled through the registration process or anything of that nature. But that's something we've done a lot of for customers, just handling that process. And let me know if that doesn't answer your question.
There was an extension to that. What about exempt certs being uploaded to their account through probably my account or the registration process?
And Corey, you want to handle that one?
I mean, we haven't done that, but I mean, it basically would. I see it's something that can be done. It's just being able to upload a file to the file cabinet. So I see that that's a possibility. And also, like we mentioned during the registration process, you could even have a custom field that says, provides that you are tax exempt and to follow up with you or something like that.
And what we found, a lot of it is that a lot of the customers that we dealt with that, they still want to have that conversation with those people, and still want to have that interaction when they're vetting with that. So like I said, we have heard that before, but that's something, if you needed to be automatic, we could explore a customization for that.
All right, so we've getting some more questions coming in through. This is great. So let's see. The next one is, how can we coordinate larger shipments such as LTL, FedEx, freight, etc.? And that's from Monica.
So with that, really, it's a back office thing, not a SuiteCommerce thing. And Mark can speak probably to this more than myself because he has a little bit more experience in that area. But there are third-party shipping products that really coordinate in the back office. And so Mark, I'll let you kind of take them from there.
Yeah. So what you see in your back office setup is what you're going to see also from a SuiteCommerce standpoint in terms of options. And if you're using, we've got a lot of applications or third parties that we work with, like ShipStation, PaceJet. there's a few out there that could help ease that process, but NetSuite also has some native integration functionality, and you can kind of set up what are your shipping options for a given customer to select. And that goes, I see the next question too is about international shipping. It wouldn't be much different from that standpoint too,
right,
depending on how you wanted to set up and who the freight handlers are.
correct.
So, and that's, I think that's just one of the bigger points of this is the core benefit of SuiteCommerce is having it be a part of NetSuite. I know Todd talked about it being on top, but the part of it is it's really just all in one, right? It's all NetSuite. So you make a change in My Accounts, someone logs in and adds something to their cart, you're able to see that in the back office. You do something in the back office, you add a new item, you add it to a category, you're able to see it out in SuiteCommerce. So it's all within an instant, it's all part of the same system, which is one of the core benefits. There are other platforms out there, obviously, that can integrate into NetSuite, which are options, but there is that nice aspect of the data that you have in NetSuite is the data that you have in SuiteCommerce.
And to tie into that, and I'll just add one thing on that, Mark, and that's where like Tadpole, and I'll just make the comment that if you guys have marketing staff, they want to be on next month. They're going to love what they see on that. But what's nice is that, and one of the reasons why Tadpole uses NetSuite a lot is because it has the customer and transactional information in the same area. So we're really tying those two together and just using that information to be able to leverage and to understand that cost of ownership, what it took for customer acquisition costs, and taking that and then also determining profitability for when you're doing marketing going forward. So that's a really important portion of that.
Yeah. All right. So that looks like it's our last question for this morning. I just want to again thank everyone for joining the webinar. It looked like there was at the beginning upwards of 60 people that have joined. I know a bunch have dropped off because of the overage on time, but some of your questions, they were excellent, but we can only answer them high level at this point. So if you want more information, like when it comes to international shipping, if you want to actually see something and have a conversation, that's where you can reach out to us. Again, I think I posted for everyone to be able to see that email, netsuitesimplified@goVirtualOffice.com, but we will also have some follow-up emails that go out to everyone. So thanks again for those 20-some plus people that stuck with us over the last 15 minutes. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we get to talk to you guys next month in August 5th. All right, take care.
That's good. Thanks, everyone.